And we're live. Hey, everybody. I'm John Jackson. Welcome to Startup Talk. We are our first episode, and we're going to have some fun today. We have a couple of startup veterans who are going to come in and tell their story. We're all about new ventures and how that journey goes, what it is to make that happen. And we're a part of Cal State Fullerton. I'm a full-time professor in the classroom, director of the Center for Entrepreneurship. And in that capacity, we have a couple of incubators where startups that are deadly serious about going forward come for help, and we do our best to help them. And just for my background's sakes, I'm a Silicon Valley guy who did a tour on Wall Street, and I have a third career now at Cal State Fullerton as an educator, and I'm having a blast. I'm also the founder of Titan Angels, which is an angel investment fund. So with that, I'd like to talk to our guests today. They're the brothers Bryan and Kevin Ruef. Kind of like which goes on top of your house, but it's spelled differently, R-E-U-F. And so I wanted to kick it to the guys, Bryan and Kevin. So give me like a 60-second pitch of 10-8 Systems.
Thanks for having us. This is Kevin. So 10-8 Systems offers a complete, budget-friendly, and fully responsive computer-aided dispatch and record management solution. Basically what that means is it helps any type of agencies such as law enforcement, private security, search and rescue, tows, events, anything like that, and it helps them manage their units and get someone to you quicker.
All right, that's cool. Why 10-8? Why not 10-9, 10-10?
I'll take this one. This is Bryan. So 10-8 is the police code for in-service. So basically when a police officer starts their shift, they get on the radio and they say that they're 10-8. That means they're ready to go start their day.
Okay. So you guys are a software startup. And generally speaking, the use is for dispatch purposes. And who might your user or your customer be?
You know, we originally focused on small law enforcement, private security departments, but now we're working with police security, search and rescue, snow and ice management, and private events of all sizes all across the U.S.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting. When I first met you guys, I had a rather narrow definition of dispatch, but I guess it's anybody that receives a call and needs to deliver service, and there seems to be a mobile connection to it. Is there not? When you think of dispatch?
Yeah, exactly. So there's the dispatcher and then there's the responder in the field. So the dispatcher is the one dispatching them. The responder in the field can use their own system to be able to see what they're going to, see additional information.
Yeah. So what was the genesis of this? How did you come up with this idea?
So when I was in high school, I joined the Police Explorer program for the Orange County Sheriff's Department. I spent 5 years in that, and I'd go on ride-alongs every other week. And we'd start our shift, open up the computer and see, computer's not working today, close it and go on our day. So I saw how old and antiquated and terrible this technology was that our first responders were trying to rely on every day.
That's sad.
It's really sad. Yeah, you'd think they'd have better stuff. And then I became a EMT and a dispatcher, and I saw that everybody's affected by this. The current technology is out of date, out of use, and it's really putting lives at risk.
Okay, so the problem was how to efficiently accept the calls and then react. And I'm under the impression the existing systems were rather manual. Is that fair?
Yeah. So a lot of dispatching systems are incredibly expensive. So small agencies couldn't afford that. They didn't have the budget for it. So they'd be using pen and paper even. And to this day, there's a lot of departments that still use pen and paper. And then a lot of them are also they're require them to stay on site. So they have to have servers, they have to have an IT team. It's really expensive. All that adds up, and they're using an outdated system that doesn't work very well, and it costs them a lot of money. So
Yeah, so your customers maybe you can say it rather than me asking the question, but are small to medium size organizations, right? Is that fair?
That's pretty fair to say. We originally started with our focus on agencies that had less than 15 people, but really, since we established at the beginning of the year, we've started working with large music events, larger agencies, large search and rescue groups, volunteers, FEMA groups. So the system is really flexible. It allows it to scale up pretty well.
Large music events?
Yeah, we actually were used at one of the largest Christian music festivals in North America over in Oshkosh, Wisconsin. They had almost 30,000 people per day, and they used our system for their security, medical, and for just general event management.
Okay, help me understand. So you've got 50,000 people. They're all digging the music, having fun, eating, drinking, but occasionally bad stuff happens, I guess.
Sure. One of the biggest events that they had was someone was selling unlicensed buttons to the people at this festival. So someone was going around sending bootleg buttons that said...
Well, that's a felony offense, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So they sent all the security over there. But then on top of that, you have people that are getting dehydrated, overheated. They're out there in the sun all day. So that also works for the medic crews.
Also, a lot of people over drinking. That's a big problem.
Yeah. Not that I've been there, done that, but dehydration, I could think would be a big, like for Burning Man or some big event for us here in Southern California. That would be a big deal. But I do think of people that imbibe and possibly overdo it. Right. So
always, not to mention some people have very elaborate outfits that they like to show up in, and out in the warm summer weather, those full body outfits aren't exactly the most friendly.
I'll put that on my not to do list. So your offering is software. Would I describe it as software as a service? Is that fair?
I would definitely say we're software as a service. And really, our focus is offering a budget-friendly solution to these companies. When there has to be the decision between paying their employees or investing in better safety equipment, there shouldn't really be a conversation there. You should be able to pay your employees and focus on tools that are keeping people safe versus software to just manage them.
And I would just guess you're cloud-based, right?
Yeah, so we're fully cloud-based. That's another one of our perks. Is a lot of the older systems, you could only access it from a computer that was directly connected to the server. So you couldn't go out into the field and really access things from anywhere. If your computer died, you couldn't pull up your phone and pull something up on it. So we're hosted on AWS GovCloud, which automatically encrypts everything. It's the same servers used by the CIA. It helps give our customers peace of mind knowing that their data is secure.
Yeah. By the way, AWS is Amazon Web Services,
yes.
Our friendly provider. Right.
So one of the clients that we were speaking to out in Missouri, their dispatch center actually was struck by lightning. It wiped out their entire center. They lost all of their data, and they didn't have dispatching in that county for a few weeks. When you have a system like ours, even if somehow we wiped out the West Coast, we still have redundancies on the East Coast, so everyone's going to be able to access their system.
All right, cool. Let's take a step back and talk about each of you, and let's go back in time. So, Kevin, you're a computer science student today.
Brian.
Brian, I'm sorry.
Sound like our parents now.
Yeah, that's right. That's all right. What were you like in high school? What were you like as a kid? What were your hobbies? Who are you?
So growing up, I always had an interest in websites and technology, and I was always the go-to person to help with fixing computers and stuff. I also had a strange obsession with roller coasters, and that was where the birth of my first website came from. My freshman year of high school, I created a website called SC Thrills, which was dedicated to the news about amusement parks and roller coasters. That was kind of me in high school, was that kid who had that website and wasn't really involved in sports, but I was heavily involved in the Explorer program.
Now, were you coding at an early age, or?
So that was about when I started coding, was freshman year of high school. Yeah, HTML and CSS and putting that website together. It was originally built on a website builder that allowed you to kind of dive deeper into the code. and edit it yourself. And that's what kind of started me on the journey of wanting to code.
Cool. And Kevin, how about you?
I was more involved in sports than Bryan was, but both of us were definitely the go-to IT people for our parents and for our whole neighborhood. Back in high school, I was actually interning at a Nickelodeon studio, one of their cartoons. So I got to be pretty hands-on with a lot of cool tech pretty early, which kind of fell into my love for technology. Bryan wasn't the only one there. But we had a great support team with our parents. Our dad was a salesman. Our mom was an exec at Xerox before she traded it in to be our biggest supporter. So we really got to learn how to talk to people, and we kind of had that love for tech really early. And we had a great support network, so it really helped.
The reason I ask this question is I get asked it a lot. Are entrepreneurs born that way? Is it like a damaged chromosome? Do you learn it? And, what I've witnessed in the classroom and my work with startups outside in the incubator, et cetera, is there are some early indicators that you have the ability to create and maybe challenge the status quo. And I think your stories, touch on that as you just saw ways to do things better, right? So I think we may be nearing a promotional announcement. Is that correct? All right. So my producer is going to say, hang on, JJ. Hey, everybody. We're back. We understand we had a microphone that was humming, and that's not a bad thing, depending what they're humming. But we're going to go forward now. We're with Bryan and Kevin Ruef, the founders of 10-8 Systems, a startup that is targeting the dispatch arena, and we've learned a little about them and how they got started. So today the software is in market. You're in what I would call the go-to-market stage. So how are you finding customers today?
So far, it's been all word of mouth and people just kind of organically stumbling upon us. We're currently in the process of building out our marketing strategy and streamlining the process for more leads, but so far, word of mouth has been a pretty powerful thing.
Okay. That's a great way to get started, a hard way to scale. So I would think down the road, you're going to have to get aggressive about the social sphere. Are you on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, all that stuff? Or
we're on all the social medias, 10-8 Systems. They don't allow the dash, so it's 108 Systems. Feel free to follow us on all of them. They look a little quiet for the moment, but there's going to be some cool updates and details and news and lots of cool stuff coming in the near future.
Yeah. So the next question is about your business model, and that basically means how are you going to make money?
We're a SaaS company, so we're all software as a service. We currently offer our system as a subscription model. So we have a month-to-month subscription where we allow all these security companies and agencies to kind of scale as needed, and we charge on a per-user basis.
All right, cool. If you had to describe your competitive advantage, how you're different, and how that distinguishes you from the other companies, what might that be?
So our biggest thing is we're completely cloud-based. So you can access this from anywhere, from your phone, your tablet, your laptop. You could put it on your Tesla screen if you wanted to. There's really anything that's connected to the internet, you can access 10-8 Systems from. Compared to the old systems where it was just the laptop that the system was installed on, that was in your car. So we're also super cost efficient because we're cloud-based. We're more modern. We use current technologies from the internet. We're not built on systems that were made 10 years ago, and developers have just been trying to patch it from there. We've got a couple features that are patent pending that kind of put us over the edge, including a cell phone locator, which can help find people better than traditional 911 systems.
Cool. Well, why don't you, can you describe a recent success story, an application that is memorable?
Yeah, so most recently, during Hurricane Dorian, we teamed up with Florida Search and Rescue. They're a search and rescue group down in Florida, and
Go figure.
They work with FEMA, and they used our system to dispatch their search and rescue teams to the Bahamas to save people there. We had calls like 300 people trapped in a church where the roof collapsed in. A baby got delivered on that from a rescue that was dispatched on our system. There was hundreds of lives that were saved because we were able to get rescuers to them in a way that traditional dispatch systems wouldn't have been able to. Even at one point, their main form of communication using an app that's nationally recognized, it went down in the middle of these rescues, and they had no form of communication. And so they fell back on 10.8 system using our chat feature, and that was their only form of communication, and it worked perfectly. And they were able to stay in contact and keep running rescues even when their main form of communication was down.
Yeah, that's a wonderful story. So I'm thinking, well, this is the first 48 hours, but actually the search and rescue continues there today, right?
Yeah, so I mean, that was just the initial getting people out of the emergency situations. That was the initial crisis moment, but now there's going to be weeks, maybe even months of continuing to search for people and try to find, I think I saw something, there's thousands of people that are listed. They just don't know where they are. So the search continues, and they'll keep using our system to try to get help to them.
Yeah. How did they find you guys? How did...
We had a family friend that we were speaking to who was working with a group called Cedar Digital Core out here in Orange County. They interacted quite a bit with Florida Search and Rescue in the past, so they kind of pushed us their direction. Cedar, what they do is they go ahead and they scan social media for Twitter, Facebook, for people saying, I haven't been able to make contact with a loved one, they're missing, whatever it may be. And then they pass that information along to Florida Search and Rescue to actually be the boots on the ground. What was really cool about our system was our system allows for quite a bit of agency interoperability. So when Florida Search and Rescue was on the ground, there were other groups like Manatee County Search and Rescue, even the Coast Guard that was going over there to coordinate on these. And with our system, they were able to kind of keep everyone in the loop for it.
All right, very cool. So I think that's a tremendous story, and it continues, and I'd love to hear more how that develops. So getting back to the startup side of this, it's something that I'll say in the classroom is inventors build products and teams build companies. Do you guys have advisors or mentors that help you in this process?
Yeah, so initially when Kevin and I started this, it was just us. And then back in, I think it was April, I entered into the startup competition, which allowed me to, and I won it, and got access to the startup incubator. And through that, I've got access to you, JJ, and Travis Lindsay, who have been phenomenal resources for us to ask and get advice from. We've been assigned a mentor who's Bill Van Vliet. He's been extremely successful in the tech industry, and including public safety. So he's been an excellent fit to be able to guide us to exactly where we need to be as a tech company.
So you guys are in the Cal State Fullerton Startup Incubator, is that correct?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So tell me about that experience. What's that like?
That's been a really cool experience. So far, it's kind of been two lone wolves against the world, and then we kind of stumbled into this incubator. There, we've been able to take advantage of the excellent resources, all the advisors. There's the events that we can go to as well to learn more about how to operate our startup, how to look for different opportunities. And then on top of that, we got connected with a really cool advisor who's been able to help us to kind of make a roadmap for what our options are towards the future. And then also we've been able to work with the consultant groups through CSU Fullerton as well. So starting this week, we're going to meet with our student team to learn more about what their capabilities are and see how we can really work together to try to build out our company even more.
For the folks that don't know Cal State Fullerton well, entrepreneurship is an academic discipline. You major in it just like accounting or biology. And one of the things that we have our students do is divide up into teams and work with a local company. And how cool is that? So you're a 20-something, you're a junior or a senior, or possibly a grad student, and you get the chance to leave campus and go consult with a local company. And we do that in spring, fall, and in summer. And it's a tremendous learning experience for the students. And then for the client, there is a team that's going to offer you 400 or 500 hours of their time over the course of a semester. And I have personally proctored 250 of those projects. And in just about all cases, our clients are delighted, and many are actually just ecstatic and want to hire or adopt the students. So let's get lofty just for a second. How do you see 10-8 systems, hyphen or not? How do you guys see yourself making a difference?
Honestly, it's amazing to. I'll go back a little bit. It's terrifying to me, after I've worked in this industry of public safety, to see that the current technology that should be helping our first responders go save lives is so terrible. So it's been so awful to see that. So to be able to start a company that is trying to bring modern technology that can save lives into the hands of these first responders who are putting their lives on the line every day, to seamlessly integrate them with technology, is an incredible feeling. Being able to use this in mass disasters like Hurricane Dorian and more as they come up in the future, it's amazing to know that even though we're thousands of miles away from the emergency, we're still doing what we can to try to help those people.
Yeah, that's really cool. And I know anecdotally that problems happen, and so you're responding to an emergency, and it's not without precedent to go to the wrong address. And why would that be? Is that, they wrote it down wrong, I guess.
There's a lot of reasons. So, for example, if you get the call from another agency, say you are at the Orange County, you're a towing company, and the Orange County Sheriff's Department calls you and says, hey, we need a tow truck here. In that phone call, there can be misheard letters, lots of things can be misheard, causing them to respond to the wrong address, and it could even be dangerous. So our system allows them to be able to immediately bring in their calls through technology. So Orange County Sheriff's Department would just type in the information about the call. There'd be no miscommunication in between the phones.
It's kind of like the game of telephone. When you call enough people and you try to say the same numbers and the same address, something's going to get lost along the way. And that starts to be a danger when you're trying to get help.
Yeah, it's. I suppose it's obvious, but in the case of dispatch, in many applications, there's a sense of urgency, right? And I'm sure our listeners know this in some cases. I think the average house fire lasts like only 17 minutes, and so there's really not a lot of time to get there in the case of fire, right? But and I maybe from an EMT perspective, you can amplify this for me. But when you're working with someone who's had a heart attack or symptoms of, or a stroke, we have similar time frames to respond, right?
Yeah, exactly. So, for example, in a cardiac arrest, when someone's heart has stopped, they've stopped breathing, they are, at that point, clinically dead. Every second counts in trying to make sure that you're able to start CPR, start helping them in order to bring oxygen back to their brain. So if you're going to the wrong address and wasting time with trying to figure out what the correct address is, every single second is hurting that patient. Mm-hmm. And if we can cut down on those response times and make sure the responders get to where they need to be, lives are going to be saved.
So in old school dispatch, there was someone on a phone or a switchboard that was taking action. How is your system different or better than?
So there still exists the dispatcher who's on the phone taking the 911 call. Our system just allows them to input it into a system. I'm trying to think how to word this.
Efficiency.
Yeah, exactly.
When the call comes through, in the old school method, they had to look for a whiteboard, look for a place on a map, look for the address. They need to verify the address is real or verify the caller's location. With our system, we can automatically geocode the address with just a few letters or a few numbers of the address put into the system. So we can make sure that we have a correct address, a correct location. We can confirm where the caller's coming from, and all this can be done within seconds. Versus traditionally where it could take up to a few minutes just to confirm the location of the call, let alone find the status of the closest officers to get there.
So am I correct? It presumes that the inbound caller knows where they are.
So that's one scenario. So another scenario is sometimes when people call 911, they don't know where they are.
Right.
They can be out of town. They're sitting on the side of the freeway. They have no clue where they are. Traditional systems would use multiple cell phone towers to try to triangulate their location. But this is incredibly inaccurate. I have been in sit-alongs in 911 call centers where they take it and it's a few hundred feet off. It's not an efficient system. It takes a long time, and honestly, it's not used. So a nice patent-pending feature of our system is if the caller doesn't know where they are, they have cell phone service. So what our system can do is send a text message to the caller. They click the link, and it uses their phone's GPS, which is not available to traditional 911 systems. It uses their phone's GPS to immediately triangulate where they are down to the number of feet. And it gets immediately input into the call, cutting down on a great amount of time that could be spent with them trying to figure out where they are, looking for landmarks.
And that helps, especially in times where there's flooding or if there's snow, blizzards, etc., and there's no street signs. So for some people, they genuinely don't know where they are. So this system kind of allows you to send that location a lot easier.
Yeah. I'm reminded when I've had a roadside emergency. In this case, it's a flat tire, and I'm a baby, and I can't do that. Right? So I'll call into the roadside service, and they'll ask me those simple questions. Well, where are you? And okay, well, I'm on the freeway.
That's not going to help them figure it out too well.
Are you going north or south? And I'm not sure. So sometimes they're difficult questions, and I can see how that would be challenging. So interesting. So as you talk with people who are using your service, what are they telling you? And how, feedback, good, bad, how you might change it, reaffirming maybe your basic thinking.
Like the old adage goes, everyone has an opinion. So one, we kind of have to sort through what's personal preference and what's kind of been deeply rooted in people's experience with their previous softwares. So some people say they want a background to be black or the text to be green. Some people just have personal preferences. So far, we've received amazingly positive feedback. And just because you receive feedback saying everything's great is not great feedback for us to grow off of. So we've really been learning to dive into deeper questions of why do you like this feature? What don't you like about this feature? How could we make this easier for you? What could be quicker? At that point, Bryan and I kind of sit down and we start to look at how we can prioritize this wish list. So Bryan, with his background in emergency services and emergency dispatching, he can take a look at this and go, hey, that's a great idea. And then sometimes the customer will say that's a terrible idea just because they're not used to it. Or sometimes I'll think an idea is great, and then when I take it to the customer side or to someone with the experience in this industry, they'll go, no, that's a ridiculous idea. So we really try to take all the feedback we can get. We throw it onto a spreadsheet and we say, okay, what seems to be the hot item? What's going to be, later on down the road, and where do we need to focus?
Yeah, one of the hard lessons, I think, as a manager, a business owner, a business executive in my past, is that complaints, by the way, are actually good. And whether it's your customer or your employee, they're giving you feedback on how to make your business better. And so the idea of being just receptive to any form of feedback, and this is so true in a startup. So a startup often is on a path that is uncertain. You're discovering who your customer really is and how you might really help them, and so getting that feedback is ultra critical. And then so is money. So how are you guys financing this business today? And related to that, are you guys all in, or is this something you do on Saturday afternoons?
Well, Bryan is an incredibly busy person. Between school, being a treasurer in his fraternity, working as a dispatcher, teaching EMT courses at Saddleback Community College, I'd love to say he's all in, but his schedule allows him to be all in the best he can. He doesn't have a lot of free time. For me, this is an all-in project. We've completely bootstrapped this entire website and venture from the ground up, aka we've self-funded everything. We've definitely considered funding as a way of building that hockey stick to increase our trajectory as we continue to grow. And we've spoken with some very qualified investors as well. Right now, we haven't yet found the need to take on money, and our customers really seem to identify with that bootstrap model, especially these smaller agencies that have done everything themselves. They haven't taken out loans or investments or things like that. So they kind of feel like we're one of the little guys with them, which definitely helps us out. But as we continue to kind of grow and look at our options to, really go 10x or 100x from where we're at now, we're definitely exploring options.
Okay. And so today you're a limited liability company, LLC, right? The decision to go with an LLC, do you recall the mechanics? Is someone just told you to do it?
So I studied economics, and I had a large focus on accounting when I went to UC Santa Barbara. So we went through all the different business models and the benefits and pros and cons of different ways of setting up our business. When we spoke with a few different advisors, they suggested that we start as an LLC to keep things easier, since currently we don't really have shareholders. We just have two individuals that we can split the equity with. As we continue towards the future, we might consider going towards an S Corp or going towards a C Corp, depending on if we're going to be taking on investments or looking for different exit strategies. But at this point, LLC was the easiest one for us and easy on taxes as well.
Yeah. So let's go back in time again. Have any of you been involved in a startup or started a company before?
Both of us have a little bit of experience with some more successful ventures and some more just for fun. Out of school, I thought that I could have all the answers and figure everything out. So I started a website called saludamigo.com, which was one of the first bilingual exercise guides available to the Spanish and English-speaking community. I learned a ton from that project. Didn't really take off, but I learned a lot through the process, and that was very valuable. Bryan's had a lot more under his resume.
So yeah, like I said before, I started SC Thrills in freshman year of high school. And I had 4 friends working for me actually at the time. Some writing reports for me or writing news articles. It got to the point where I officially qualified as media personnel and got to go to special events, media days, and ride rides before they opened to the public.
Sweet.
So I used advertising on the website to try to make a little money off of it, but it was mostly just a fun thing for me. And then after that, as I got more involved in coding, I was also playing a video game at the time where you pretended to be a police officer in it just for fun. You'd play with groups. And because I was a police explorer, I saw, the systems that they actually use. And I wanted something to use while I was playing this game. And everybody did. And at the time, everybody was just using spreadsheets. So I created a system that was a very basic dispatching system called DCRS. It was Dispatch and Civilian Reporting System. So that was kind of the early system that got me into the dispatching software realm. That got up to 60,000 users, and it still operates today.
Cool. So if someone is aspiring to start a business, what advice might you two offer that aspiring entrepreneur? What to do, what not to do?
Fail. fail, and fail again. If you think that you're going to knock it out of the park on your first try, or you're going to be uber successful, you're going to be way too closed-minded in the future when you start to get feedback or start to discover any kind of adversity. The best way is just to try something, and if it doesn't work out, pick yourself up and keep trying. The other big point of advice that I would strongly suggest is build a team. find a partner in this experience. Trying to be a lone wolf through this may sound cool, but it's going to be very tiring. You won't have anyone else understanding the stress that you're going through, the growing pains, someone to kind of relate to through the process. And really, the last one is be careful of all the sharks in the water. A lot of people want to try to grab onto your coattails, or they see a golden opportunity or golden ticket. People are great. You can get lots of great advice. There's a lot of very altruistic people out there, but be very careful, especially if you start to find some success. Make sure you keep your head on straight.
Yeah, my biggest piece of advice I would say is find something that you're passionate about and make your mark in that area. For me, because I'm so passionate about public safety and this whole world of emergency services, I love what I do, and I feel really good about doing it. So I think if you can find something that you really are passionate about, it's never going to feel like work, and you're going to put way more energy into it than you would if it was something you just kind of stumbled upon.
Yeah, I buy that. I think my answer to my own question would be to always do it now. Because when you're looking at a problem or an opportunity, I can just guarantee you that there are thousands of other people who are doing the same thing. And not that you have to be first to market. I actually wrote a book a few years ago called First, Best, or Different. And invariably, first to market is really expensive. And the businesses, the founders, don't get rewarded because of the complexity of go-to-market. I think that on the money side, when you need the money, it's hard to get. This is the absurdity of the world out there, and so I'm an advisor of startups, and invariably you pitch to try to get that investor or to get the banker to lend. And you'll get swatted away. And then after you're established, the irony is now everybody wants to give you money. So it's a peculiar aspect. Now, Kevin, so you were up in Silicon Valley for a while.
Yes.
In the high-tech industry, is that correct?
Yes. So before this, I was heavily involved in industrial automation. So I was consulting with some cool companies up north. I got to travel to China quite a bit and go to different manufacturing facilities. And then after that, I was more on the hardware testing world. And that's when Bryan and I started teaming up more on this project. Then when we established at the beginning of the year, I kind of realized that the time to go all in on this was kind of now or never. So in July, I told my previous employer, I said I'm focusing on other things now. Picked up my bags, moved down here so we could take advantage of the Fullerton incubator and all of our resources down here.
Interesting. So what's going on? So you've been up in the Bay Area, and I worked there for 20 years. And when I was there, I felt like it was the center of the earth, right? Now I'm back home in Orange County. How would you compare the two California pockets of technology and innovation?
It's pretty crazy. Silicon Valley still has it's pretty unique across the world. The amount of talent pool, the amount of people that they import from all across the U.S. and the world, they're the best of the best. There's the competition up there is insane. There's also a lot of dreamers up there. There's a lot of people that think that with a quality business plan, they can just take it to some sort of VC group and just get a bunch of money. And then as long as they burn through all their money, then they'll go on to the next round. So it's definitely a different perspective. Down here in Orange County, there's still an unbelievable amount of talent, but it seems to be at a much more manageable pace. Things are moving, they're still chugging along, but it's not at this hyper speed that's happening up in the Bay Area.
Right. Kind of my observation as well, although it's been some time since I lived in the San Jose, Palo Alto area. But what was amazing to me was the access to capital, the VCs that are there. And what you find here in Orange County is a preponderance of angel investors, so are focused in on the smaller ventures. The other thing that is unique to Orange County is the high number of family-owned businesses that actually don't exit the market. They pass on to successors. And I was involved in a study some time ago, 7-8 years ago, and we compared Orange County to Silicon Valley, to Austin, to Route 128 in Boston. And well, they're pretty similar. But one of the outstanding, unique characteristics of Southern California was the lack of VCs, because they were typically up north in Silicon Valley, but the preponderance of the family-owned enterprises, which today you fit.
Happy to be a demographic.
Right. So I'd like to move on in our conversation, and this is kind of the creative part of the conversation. And so, and I'll pick on Bryan first. And so, on a scale of 1 to 10, how weird are you?
Let me just say I'm a computer science major. Okay. I'll let you do with that what you will. I don't know. It's hard to put a number on that. I definitely say I'm very weird in some aspects.
Right.
But then sometimes I'm sitting in my computer science classes and I feel pretty good about myself.
I feel like you're with your people? Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Kevin, same question.
20. He's a 20.
Honestly, we're both perfect 10s. At least that's what our parents tell us. That makes us a pretty dynamic duo. We're both weird in our own ways, which kind of levels us out. And like Bryan said, he's a computer science major, so he fits in perfectly.
Yeah. No, the reason I ask this question is that entrepreneurs, successful entrepreneurs, mind you, are typically outliers. They are different, and that's a good thing because we want to celebrate that uniqueness. And in my own case, I was a bit of a geek in that I love to read and write, which amongst my friends was just why is that? Why why do you do that? And then I was endlessly curious. And so today, with PC and search, I can be entertained for weeks on end answering questions. And that really kind of propelled me to do the things that I did. And so for the listeners out there, if you feel different, that's great.
Stick with it.
Yeah, but don't follow the herd. Let those people go where they may, and you need to just choose your own path and exploit that, because that's how you're going to do great things. For some of us, we need to major in accounting, and we need to follow the rules. But for entrepreneurs, we need to exploit the opportunities that are out there. So here's another one of those off-the-wall questions. So let's say we finish this interview and you step outside and you just exited the company and you each got $10 million. What are you going to do?
I'd reinvest it into something else. By the time that we take out all the taxes and all those other fun things, $10 million, and of course inflation, $10 million isn't, or 5 or 2.5 by the time we split it between the two of us, isn't going to get me too far. So I'd have to find a way to reinvest it into something else.
Yeah, I'd also invest it, but probably into just a really nice car.
So what'd you
I'm
get?
a little immature compared to Kevin.
Okay, I'm a car guy, so that's cool. Maybe a bit more existential. So it's now towards the end of your life, and you're looking back. What would you like to be known for?
I think for me, I'd like to be known as the person who changed the industry of public safety software. So many things right now are and have been for so long, you just go with, you always go with this person because that's just, everybody knows them, I think I'd really love to be known as the person that came in and made waves in this industry and got people thinking more about how can we help our first responders instead of how can we make a nice profit.
Right.
Our aunt sent us a book years ago about being a social entrepreneur, and the idea of how can we actually influence different industries or different people beyond strictly chasing dollars. So if we can actually give back, I think it'd be pretty cool. Also in high school, I was known as the guy that was either going to become a multimillionaire or really homeless. So I'm really hoping for door A versus door B.
All right. So as you look, let's go back to the company just for a second, and then we have some more crazy questions. What do you think is the next step for 10-8?
So right now, we're in 41 states. I think the next step is getting to those all 50 states and then going beyond. There's a huge international market that we've been reached out to by of people that are interested in it from a ton of different countries. So, I think the next step is really getting ourselves throughout the United States and then pushing for that international market.
Interesting. I hadn't thought. When I asked the question, I knew about the Bahamas, but English is spoken there. So your system may have to be localized for language and culture. Then, is that correct?
Sure. We've been reached out to from Canada,
A very
Australia.
foreign country, yeah.
Australia is barely English. So the UK, we've been reached out from quite a few English-speaking countries, but then also looking at how we can help this technology in other speaking countries, Spanish-speaking countries. There's all of the Arabic countries, China. There's a lot of options, and hopefully over the next few years we can start to try to share this technology more internationally.
Okay, that's fascinating. Because clearly the problem that you're solving exists everywhere, right?
That's the beauty of the cloud. We can take this and share it with the world.
Deploy it anywhere.
Okay. I got a really tough question for you. Who would win the fight between Spider-Man and Batman? And explain why.
I think that's a pretty easy answer. Obviously Spider-Man, because Batman's just a spoiled rich kid with cool toys. Spider-Man actually has abilities. He's
10 out of 10, we agree on this one.
Oh, really?
Definitely Spider-Man.
Okay. Well, he's got some special creepy powers, I have to admit. But Batman, I think he's got a lot of brains,
You can't mess with his spidey sense. When that thing starts tingling, there's nothing you can do.
Okay.
No amount of
all
brains
right.
is going to get you out of that.
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to win that argument.
Not this time.
Yeah. So, I really have enjoyed the chance to talk with you guys. Do you have any questions for me, by the way? So, is there anything that I can do, or can our listeners do to help?
Listeners, tell all of your friends about 108systems.com. It's really, really great. Honestly, the biggest resource for us has been able to kind of pick your brain, Travis Lindsay, Bill Van Vliet, and the big questions that we made sure to ask all of you when we came into it is two things. One, what's your biggest indicator of a company that's going to be successful versus a company that's going to be a statistic? And the other thing that we wanted to ask is, how can we best interface with the Fullerton Incubator, our advisors, and our consultant team to be able to see the most success coming out of that? So I think those are the two things that we wanted to make sure to ask you that I think that our listeners could really benefit from hearing.
All right, that's cool. So, if our listeners want to get in contact, how would they find you guys?
10-8systems.com,
10-8.systems. Take your pick.
All right, and then Facebook, Instagram.
We seem to be most responsive on Facebook, but you can hit us up on Instagram, Twitter, any way that you can find us, or you can email us at contact@10-8systems.com.
Yeah. By the way, are you guys hiring? Are you looking to bring on any team members in the near future?
We're always looking for opportunities to grow. Where those people will fit in, we're still finding. We're looking to work with either other developers or people with more of a marketing background that could sit as more of a product manager. We're looking for app developers. So we're always looking to meet new people and see if we can either work with them on an ongoing or a limited time basis.
Mm-hmm. So, we conclude this interview in a few moments. It's a year from now. What would you guys like to happen, let's say, in the next year? When it's just a reflective question. More of the same. You want to go internationally. What else might you do?
I think we're really at a tipping point right now. We've built up the technology. It's been verified. It's been shown to be robust. At this point, it's just expanding our network. We have other options such as portable Wi-Fi devices or branded GPS pucks, or there's a lot of options that we can move into.
Yeah. I was wondering about the Internet of Things. So although your software is a service, I was wondering if there's an appliance that would naturally marry up with what you do.
There's a lot of things that we can marry up. You can marry up things like motion detectors, presence detection, any kind of alarm, motion detection.
Body cameras.
That's one thing that we've been looking at is body cam integrations. Currently, if an officer is on scene and something happens to them, they have to call into a dispatcher, say they were shot, ran over, whatever the dealio might be. They have to get that information back to an operator to then have a response. We're looking at ways to be able to integrate. So if an officer presses their emergency button, the dispatcher can automatically see their body cam footage, see a live video, see feedback, or see a replay of what just happened. Because, like we said, it's all about public safety.
Yes, I think that's interesting. My mind is kind of racing as we reach this point. And so when a firefighter goes in a building, he or she is on a mission, but also their safety is an issue as well, and tracking where they're at, communicating to the others. Maybe there's a request for more help, whatever that is. So I could see how some type of Internet of Things connectivity would make some sense.
Over the next couple of years, as we move towards 5G networks, the ability to stream video is going to be far more efficient as well. Currently, there's a lot of limitations on the system of how quickly we can stream digital media, videos, things to those of that nature. So as we continue to move towards faster networks and better connectivity, the ability to automatically tune in on our first responders and kind of see if they need more assistance, need help, whatever it may be, is going to be a lot easier for us and hopefully help them out a lot too.
The internet's going to be an amazing theme for public safety. We're right now just on the cusp of people realizing that.
Okay. So, we're winding down the interview, and I really appreciate you guys joining me. Is there anything that you'd like to tell our audience that we didn't talk about? So knowing that our audience, why they're listening is they're interested in you and in startups.
Just a heads up, 3 minutes left.
We're open to talking to everyone. Whether you're more experienced than us, less experienced than us, we're always looking to try to find additional perspectives and additional feedback. So both Bryan and I, we've reached out as far as our network will allow us, just to get us to interface with different individuals, whether that's other entrepreneurs, management of tech companies, police officers, dispatchers, wherever we can. So if someone listening has a great idea or says, holy cannoli, I think I've got a wonderful idea on what you guys should be doing, please contact us, contact someone, do it yourself. just do it.
All right. So Bryan and Kevin Ruef of 10-8 Systems, we've talked about how to get in touch with you. I wanted to encourage the listeners to visit Cal State Fullerton Center for Entrepreneurship Facebook page, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn. You can visit my website, which is johnbradleyjackson.com, and you'll note that I'm an author. Please buy my books. And for the folks out there, we're going to be bringing in more people like Bryan and Kevin and talking about startups. We anticipate startup advisors to join us. One of my friends who's an IP attorney is going to come. We're going to have bankers come in, startup advisors, and talk about what it really means to start a company. With that, if you have suggestions on what we might do, we're going to listen. This has just been our first show, and we really appreciate the opportunity. Kevin and Bryan, whatever I can do personally to help, I'll always be there. Because when I look back at the end of my life, I want to know that I've been able to help people and that I have given unconditionally. And, you kind of hit on it a few minutes ago that a lot of people kind of want to grab your coattails. And so my personal mission is to make sure that people get what they need, and then, my reward, well, maybe it'll come in the afterlife. So with that, I wanted to thank you both. Any closing comments or rocks you want to throw? So,
Thanks for having us. Please connect with us on LinkedIn and personally. My name is Kevin, Kevin, Ruef, Ruef, F as in Frank, and this is Bryan, Bryan, not Brain, but Bryan, Bryan, Ruef, Ruef. Connect with us on LinkedIn, and thanks for having us.
all right, very cool. So I'm going to look to my producer and figure out how to shut down here, but thank you so much to our audience, and we'll see you next Tuesday at 1 o'clock.
Okay, so now just press the Mac computer button and press that red button. And
Mom, dark chocolate with sea salt? My favorite. Thanks, kind ghost.
I did not understand a word you said, my boy, but you choose of great satisfaction bring my ghost to rest. Goodbye, Trent. Keep spreading the word of kind healthy rain.
Tyson Radio would like to thank Kind for their generosity in supporting the station with delicious Kind whole grain snacks. For more information on ingredients you can pronounce, as well as the newest flavors, please visit kindsnacks.com.
I need something to eat quick. What should I get? Burger? Chinese? Ugh, I'm tired of eating fast food. I just need something to eat quick and healthy.
Trent!
Huh? Who's in there?
Open the cupboard! Open the cupboard, Trent!
Whoa, Kind Ghost, what are you doing here with all these Kind bars?
Yes, Trent, it is I, the Kind Ghost. And I am kind enough to present a box full of delicious, kind, gluten-free, healthy grain bars.